My name is Deb Morley, and I have the honor of being the director of the Wolf Graham Memorial Library at Widener University in Chester, Pennsylvania. I'm delighted to be here as the library is celebrating its 50th year anniversary this fall. There's a lot that has changed at our institution and in our library in the last 50 years, but some things have remained the same, such as the many and evolving ways in which the library program supports teaching, learning, and research at the university. The library building is an academic hub and the heart of scholarship on campus, and the library faculty and staff's commitment to not only providing library services, teaching information literacy skills, and providing access to information resources, but in helping all to become lifelong learners. Happy 50th anniversary, Wolf Graham. I know the next 50 will be just as great.
In the early 1970s, two major events occurred, which in a sense created Widener University as we know it today. One was the construction of the very dramatic building that we know as the Wolf Graham Memorial Library. There was also a major rethinking, restructuring of Widener. Formerly it had been Pennsylvania Military College, and in 1972 the name was changed to Widener College, and the Military Cadet Corps was decommissioned. The building was designed by Eric Chung. Eric was a friend of the university, actually served on our board of trustees for a number of years. And he was an extremely artistic, a very dramatic, a very innovative architect. And he made a wonderful creation, building a library in the form of a dramatic triangle and constructing it out of white brick. In 1970, the building was opened, and the students, faculty, and staff literally hand-carried the collection from the former library, which is now the admissions building, to the Wolf Graham Memorial Library. One thing that was obvious immediately was that our collection was nowhere nearly large enough to serve the needs of the university or to fill the shelves, for that matter. There were many, many empty shelves. And so throughout the 1970s, one of the major points of emphasis was the building of the collection. The Faculty Library Committee, which I was honored to chair in the 1970s, created something known as the Friends of the Library. Basically, the Friends of the Library was an organization whose purpose was to hold typically carnivals where there would be silent auctions, and from that resources were created that we could give to the acquisitions budget. We had a very strong reference collection. We had a very strong collection, a specialized collection in military history. And finally, we had the Lieutenant Wolf Graham collection, which was focused on literature and criticism. By the 1980s, the university had grown rather dramatically, and it became necessary to rethink the structural organization of the university and also to rethink the faculty handbook. And it was an opportunity for the professional librarians of Wolf Graham to be fully integrated into the faculty structure and governance and into the faculty handbook. By the end of the century and beginning into the 2000s, automation was rapidly progressing. This did two things for the library. It meant that the life of the library was significantly expanded because we no longer were worried about outgrowing the size of the building, but it also made it possible for us to rethink the functioning of the space. Wolf Graham was then and is now, in my opinion, the heart of the university. For Widener, it's the place you go when you want to go beyond and deeper than merely a Google search or a Wikipedia page. One of the most famous libraries in the ancient world was the library at Trajan's Forum. And above one of the entrances to that library was an inscription that read, "Dispensary to the Soul." I would suggest that for the academic pursuits at Widener University, Wolf Graham Memorial Library is the dispensary to the academic soul.
On February 9th, 1970, Mr. Brown, then the director of the library, hired me as a cataloger. There were 3,000 books that need to be catalogued before June of 1970, before we moved to the new library. And the assistant director, Mrs. Helen Dominic, was my supervisor and my mentor. We catalogued all 3,000 books. Library staff, students, faculty, including the president of the university, carried books by hand. That was known as the book walk. President Moore had to carry about 3-4 bricks of different shades to show Mrs. Edith Wolfgram to see which color she liked. He carried that in the plane to North Dakota so that she can select the color she wanted. The interior of the library, the first carpet was red color. Again, it was Mrs. Edith Wolfgram selected the color, the red carpet. After we moved, there was no budget for the books. The library staff and the friends of the library had to have a white elephant sale to make money to buy books. Then we also did walk from library to President Moore's house to raise money for the library. When we got there, Mrs. Clarence Moore had pizza for us. Regarding the function of the library, Mr. Brown is the one who introduced the subject of liaison librarians. The idea was based on the concept that the librarians need to work very closely with the teaching faculty to build library resources according to the curriculum that were offered. Other libraries in the area later on followed our example. Before the end-user databases were involved, the librarians had to dial in to a remote computer which was situated miles away. They charged us on the basis of the time we used, minute by minute. So it was very important for us to prepare the research topic that the students wanted in a very precise manner using the keywords and the Boolean logic. So that's before the introduction of end-user databases. Reference librarians provided the first Google service. Librarians had to depend solely on print sources, and we had to recommend the appropriate sources on various subjects at any given time. As a reference librarian, I cannot stop marveling the easy accessibility of information in 2020 compared to how it was in 1970. Thank you for giving this opportunity. It was an honor and a privilege being part of Wolfgram Memorial Library for 40 years.
I came to Wolfgram and to Widener because I was incredibly impressed with the high quality of all the faculty and staff that I met, and especially their sense of devotion and dedication to the ideals of the university and to the ideals of service in the library. But of course, what new job is not complete without a crisis within its first few weeks? We had to replace our ailing, soon-to-die library system. That was the first of many tasks, developments, and innovations that we tried to bring to our service at Wolfgram. And We were able to do a little bit to spruce up the building. We wanted to make sure that we had an effective and efficient place and pleasant place for students to do their work, even as we developed systems that allowed them to access the services from outside of the building. There were great changes in library land and in higher education during all of those years. And with the help of an incredible staff, we were able to keep up, and we were able to provide an extremely and consistent high level of service. But we wouldn't have been able to do that, even in the best of times, if it weren't for the very, very great staff of Wolf Graham. I remember when I came for my interview, we had an evening all-staff meeting where most of the staff, many of whom seemed to have been there longer than I had been alive at the time, met with me, listened to my little presentation, and asked me the standard interview questions, and then also asked me the non-standard questions of the things that they really wanted to know. And that was the most gentle yet thorough interrogation that I think I've ever had. At that point, I knew that this was a great staff. I remember some of the original inquisitors, Miss Kim, Debbie, Delma, Carmen, Lisa, Terry, Val, Joanne, and many others who asked questions and held me to account for my answers. I knew at that moment that this was a group of people that I really wanted to work with. My main goal during all of my time there was not to disappoint or fail that staff. And I insisted in helping to bring in new people with that same ethos of service and work. And I hope I did not disappoint and did not fail. But I am confident that that spirit lives on, and that spirit is going to be necessary in the trying times that we're going through right now and that we will face in the future. And Wolf Graham will still be a major and important and notable library and service to Widener and to the community. Thank you.
president of Widener University, it is such an honor to wish Wolf Graham Memorial Library a happy 50th anniversary. Wolf Graham Memorial Library is the gem at the center of our campus. It's a place that is welcoming, that is warm, that is full of support for learning and discovery. It's wide open, it's a great place to gather, it's a great place to work independently. I think my favorite thing about Wolf Graham Memorial Library, my favorite story, is talking to my freshmen when I teach freshman seminar and hearing them say, my favorite place on campus is the library. I love to go there to study. I love to go there to gather with friends. It's where I like to hang out on campus, and it's where I get my homework and my studying done. Congratulations, Wolf Graham Memorial Library. The faculty and staff have created an environment that is a place where our students want to go, where our faculty and staff want to go, where we all can gather and learn. It is the heart of our academic community. Thank you for everything you do. Happy 50th anniversary.